Welcome back to B&B Spoilers channel. Today, we will dive into the shocking fallout shaking Los Angeles after Luna Nozawa's tragic end and the way it explodes into a full-blown war between the Forresters and Dollar Bill Spencer. This deep dive is written in a dramatic, YouTube-ready style to match your usual soap coverage on the bold and the beautiful. Luna fallout explodes online. By the time Tuesday, November 25th rolls around, Luna's death is no longer just a private family tragedy. It is a global scandal with her name and photos splashed across every gossip site, fashion blog, and message board, turning a former intern's story into the kind of viral storm that no fashion house can ignore. Inside Forrester Creations, phones are buzzing nonstop as reporters demand quotes, employees whisper in the corridors, and executives are forced into an emergency strategy session where every word, every silence, and even every facial expression could define the company's image for months to come. As the team studies headlines that link Luna directly to Forrester's brand, they realize this is not just about damage control, but about rewriting what the public believes Forrester stands for: glamour with heart, or ruthless ambition that chews up vulnerable young women along the way. Brooke seizes control from Katie. Normally, this kind of reputational firestorm would be Katie Logan's battlefield. But on this particular day, she walks into the executive office expecting to take the lead and instead finds Brooke already in motion, speaking about the plan in a way that makes it painfully clear decisions were made before she even arrived. Katie is blindsided when Brooke calmly explains that, because of Katie's personal ties to Luna's story and the emotional labor she has already carried, the family believes she should step back from the center of the PR operation, a move that sounds polite on the surface but lands like a quiet demotion. As Ridge, Eric, and Donna exchange uneasy glances, Katie has to stand there and process the idea that her loyalty to Luna and her willingness to get close to the young woman's pain is now being used as the very reason she is labeled to compromise to protect the Forrester brand, forcing her to question not only her job security, but her place in this powerful family circle she helped hold together for years. Dylan's unexpected opportunity. Into this tense atmosphere walks Dylan, the art instructor who once floated around the fringes of Forrester as a creative consultant, now suddenly being spoken about as a serious candidate to help reframe the company's image in the wake of the Luna tragedy. What begins as a simple request for Dylan's input on how to present Luna's legacy visually, her sketches, mood boards, and unfinished concepts quickly evolves into something larger, as Brooke and Ridge recognize that Dylan's outsider perspective and experience with younger, social media-savvy audiences could be exactly what they need to pivot the narrative. As Dylan starts pitching ideas about a scholarship in Luna's name, a digital art campaign that highlights mental health and pressure in the fashion world, and a commitment to protecting interns and assistants, it becomes clear that this temporary collaboration might be the beginning of a brand new chapter in Dylan's career and a not-so-subtle signal to Katie that Forrester is already testing replacement energy in the PR arena. Bill drops the nice guy mask. While the Forresters debate ethics and optics, Dollar Bill Spencer is watching the Luna saga from his own high-rise tower, and what he sees infuriates him. Katie bruised professionally. Their son will once again orbiting a world that he does not control, and Forrester Creations turning a scandal into yet another internal power shuffle. Bill has spent months trying to soften his image, telling himself he needs to be gentler, kinder, and more respectable if he wants to be the kind of man Katie can fully trust again. But Luna's death and Katie's sidelining snap something inside him, making him realize that too much nice has only invited people to underestimate him. By the time Katie comes to him and quietly admits she has effectively lost her position in the Forrester PR division, whether the family calls it temporary or not, Bill has already made up his mind. He will not just stand by and offer comfort. He will reclaim his signature edge, remind everyone why he was once feared in every boardroom in town, and turn this crisis into an opportunity to pull both Katie and Will firmly back into the Spencer orbit. Katie and Will at a crossroads with Spencer Publications. Bill lays out his vision with the precision of a general planning a campaign, telling Katie that instead of fighting to claw her way back into a role where she is clearly being second-guessed, she should walk away on her own terms and bring her talents to Spencer Publications, where she would not just manage PR, but shape the voice of an entire media empire. He paints a compelling picture, Katie running a powerful division that can not only respond to Forrester's spin on Luna's story, but actively set the narrative across multiple platforms, while Will is brought in closer to the family company, mentored in business, and protected from the emotional chess games that always accompany life tied to the Forrester dynasty. As Katie listens, torn between her history with Forrester and the promise of autonomy and respect at Spencer, and as Bill quietly begins planting the idea in Will's mind that family business is where the future lies, one thing becomes crystal clear. Luna's tragedy is not just a heartbreaking ending, but the catalyst for a massive reshuffling of power, loyalty, and legacy in Los Angeles, with the next moves belonging to Katie and her choice of which last name Logan, Forrester, or Spencer will define the rest of her story. Next, we will learn about the intricate web of emotions, betrayals, and hidden agendas that are about to explode in the most spectacular fashion imaginable on the bold and the beautiful. The tangled saga of Sheila Sharp, Deacon Sharp, and Taylor Hayes has reached a critical juncture where every glance, every whispered conversation, and every moment of suppressed desire threatens to detonate a bomb that could obliterate multiple lives and redefine relationships that have stood for decades in this fictional Los Angeles landscape we have all come to know so intimately. Sheila's gratitude toward Taylor Hayes operates on multiple psychological levels that reveal the complex trauma and desperate need for validation that has defined her character since she first appeared on the canvas as Sheila. This isn't merely a passing thank you or a casual acknowledgement of kindness. Rather, it represents a fundamental shift in how Sheila perceives her own worthiness of love and stability. She genuinely believes, with every fiber of her being, that Taylor's intervention, whether through words of wisdom, professional guidance, or simply being a stabilizing presence, has single-handedly preserved the fragile union between herself and Deacon. This belief system has become Sheila's anchor, the very foundation upon which she has built her new identity as Sheila Sharp, attempting to bury the monstrous actions of Sheila beneath layers of therapeutic breakthroughs and marital commitment. The irony, of course, is that this gratitude is built on a foundation of sand, destined to collapse the moment Taylor's own emotional needs collide with Sheila's possessive instincts. Fans who have witnessed Sheila's journey from villainous terror to redeemed wife understand that this gratitude is both genuine and terrifyingly conditional, a ticking time bomb waiting for the right trigger to transform appreciation into vengeance. Deacon Sharp has crossed a moral line so profound that even he, master of self-justification and rationalization, struggles to maintain his equilibrium while navigating these treacherous emotional waters. He hasn't simply developed a mild attraction or momentary fascination with Taylor Hayes. Instead, he has fallen into a deep, churning ocean of romantic feelings that threaten to drown his commitment to Sheila entirely. Taylor represents something Sheila never could: a pristine, respected figure in the community, a psychiatrist whose very profession commands authority and trust, a woman who embodies the kind of legitimacy Deacon has craved his entire life. He sees in her not just an alternative to his wife, but a superior choice, an upgrade that would finally silence the whispers that have followed him through every bad decision and scandalous relationship. This perspective shift didn't happen overnight. It has been slowly building, molecule by molecule, like coral forming beneath the surface, invisible until it becomes a reef that can tear apart the hull of his marriage. The comparison to Brooke Logan is particularly telling, as Brooke has been Deacon's ultimate fantasy and greatest regret for decades. Yet somehow Taylor has ascended to a category even Brooke doesn't occupy, a sanctuary of respectability that Brooke's own scandalous history can never provide. Taylor's vulnerability during this period cannot be overstated. As she navigates the wreckage of her shattered engagement to Ridge Forrester while maintaining the professional composure that defines her public persona. She remains the composed psychiatrist, the wise counselor, the steady hand that guides others through their emotional storms. Yet beneath this carefully constructed facade lies a woman whose heart has been pulverized by Ridge's predictable yet devastating return to Brooke. This time, however, Taylor demonstrates a wisdom she previously lacked, a growth born from decades of playing second fiddle to Brooke Logan's shadow. She has restrained herself from the kind of public emotional meltdown that marked her previous returns to Los Angeles, choosing instead to channel her pain into productive avenues. This wise choice, this demonstration of maturity and self-control, will face its ultimate test as the holiday season approaches, with its inherent emphasis on family, togetherness, and romantic reconciliation. The Thanksgiving table, the Christmas decorations, the New Year's Eve countdown, these aren't merely festive backdrops, but pressure cookers that will test every resolution Taylor has made to protect her heart and maintain professional boundaries. The holiday season in Los Angeles carries a particular weight for these characters, as every twinkling light and decorated storefront window becomes a mirror reflecting their own loneliness and longing. Taylor could make a decision about Deacon that has nothing to do with logic and everything to do with the primal need for comfort during the darkest, most emotionally charged time of year. This decision, whatever form it takes, whether a shared kiss beneath mistletoe, a confessional conversation over holiday drinks, or a full-blown affair consummated in the sanctity of her office, will ignite a chain reaction that brings Sheila's dark side roaring back to life with a vengeance that will make her previous crimes seem like mere rehearsals. The old Sheila, the one who shot Stephanie, kidnapped babies, and faked her own death multiple times, has been hibernating within Sheila Sharp, waiting for the precise moment when her newfound happiness is threatened to emerge more dangerous than ever before. Deacon Sharp wants Taylor Hayes with a desperation that borders on obsession. Yet this desire exists in tortured parallel with his genuine care for Sheila and his stated desire to restore his marriage. He wouldn't have returned to the home he shares with Sheila, wouldn't have slept beside her, wouldn't have spoken words of reconciliation if some part of him didn't truly want to salvage what they built together. Yet this internal conflict tears at him daily as he finds himself inventing reasons to visit Taylor's office, extending their sessions beyond professional necessity, and seeking her opinion on matters that have nothing to do with therapy and everything to do with creating emotional intimacy. The heart that beats in Deacon's chest is no longer reserved exclusively for Sheila, despite his wedding vows and their shared history of redemption. He finds Taylor to be the most intriguing woman he's ever encountered, a statement that carries immense weight coming from a man whose romantic history includes royalty, fashion moguls, and the infamous Brooke Logan. This special category that Taylor occupies exists outside the normal hierarchy of Deacon's affections, representing a quantum leap in his evolution as a character who has always been defined by his attraction to women who represent either forbidden fruit or unattainable status. Brooke Logan's name enters this equation not as a direct participant, but as a ghostly presence haunting Deacon's transformation, a constant reminder of the pattern he has historically followed in his romantic pursuits. Brooke is partially driving Deacon's change in perspective because her own reconciliation with Ridge represents the ultimate closure of a chapter Deacon has been trying to rewrite for decades. Every time Brooke chooses Ridge over him, Deacon experiences a fundamental rewrite of his own worth, forcing him to seek validation in new quarters. Ridge Forrester's cold, surgical termination of his engagement to Taylor provided Deacon with an opening he never could have engineered himself, a chance to commiserate with Taylor as a fellow victim of the Brooke and Ridge juggernaut. This happened because Ridge and Brooke reconciled with the inevitability of a force of nature, their destiny crushing Taylor's hopes of finally remarrying the man she loves more than any other human being on earth. Ridge Forrester discarded his second love with the same casual brutality he has employed throughout his romantic history, treating Taylor as a placeholder for Brooke, a comfortable alternative when the real thing was temporarily unavailable. This pattern of behavior, repeated across decades, has left Taylor emotionally primed for someone like Deacon to step in and show her the kind of attention, devotion, and singular focus she believed Ridge was finally prepared to give her permanently. The rebound dynamic that could develop between Deacon and Taylor represents one of the most psychologically complex potential relationships in recent soap opera history, as both parties would be using each other to solve wounds inflicted by the same source couple. Taylor hasn't reacted to this latest rejection the way she did during previous returns to Los Angeles, California, when she was suffering from broken heart syndrome, so severe it manifested in physical symptoms, leading to misdiagnosis and medical drama that nearly cost her life. She was devoting far too much emotion to wallowing over Ridge's ongoing, unbreakable connection to Brooke, allowing her professional reputation to suffer as she became a tragic figure stalking the halls of Forrester Creations and the hospital corridors. This time around, Taylor has steadied herself by focusing intensely on her work, rebuilding her practice, publishing research, and establishing herself as an independent entity not defined by her relationship to Ridge or the Forrester family. That dedication led to accepting Deacon as a patient, a decision that seemed professionally sound at the time, but has become increasingly problematic as their therapeutic relationship has sparked with an undeniable chemistry that hasn't yet transformed into a full-blown love match, but hovers perpetually on the verge of combustion. The patient-therapist boundary violations already occurring in their sessions would constitute ethical breaches in the real world, but operate as standard romantic fuel in the soap opera universe, where every professional relationship contains the seeds of personal destruction. They discuss Deacon's marriage to Sheila, his feelings of inadequacy, his craving for respectability, and with each session, the line between therapeutic transference and genuine emotional connection blurs further. Taylor provides insights that help Deacon understand his own motivations, but these breakthroughs create intimacy that has nothing to do with mental health treatment and everything to do with two battered souls recognizing their complementary damage. Sheila's unwanted comeback happens not because she seeks to return to her old ways, but because the universe conspires to push her there through the actions of those she trusts most. Deacon mentioned that the end of Sheila's name is sharp, a symbolic attachment to his own identity that represents her attempt to bury Carter and all the darkness that surname represents. Part of the reason this couple bonded and then married included their shared experience of achieving redemption against impossible odds, of being the town pariahs who somehow found acceptance and love with each other. Sheila naturally feels that she's been robbed of the remainder of Luna Nozawa's life, a complex grief that intertwines genuine loss with the guilt of knowing her own genetic and environmental contributions to Luna's psychological collapse. While Sheila knows her granddaughter created the problems that led to her death through a series of increasingly desperate and criminal actions, she also feels great compassion for her, understanding the mental illness and trauma that drove Luna to such extremes. This empathy for Luna exists in direct contradiction to the harsh judgment she would have rendered in her Carter days, demonstrating the growth she believes justifies her new identity. Deacon and Taylor are united in not grieving for Luna, a shared perspective that creates a bond of emotional distance from the tragedy that has shaken the rest of the community. This commonality, this ability to view Luna's death with intellectual rather than emotional engagement, represents yet another point of connection between Deacon and Taylor, another thread weaving them closer while simultaneously creating a chasm between them and Sheila. The shifting points of commonality that Deacon shares with Taylor appear to be building toward a tipping point that will irrevocably alter the landscape of relationships on this show. Every conversation, every shared moment of understanding, every parallel experience with Ridge and Brooke adds weight to the scales, tipping them further toward an inevitable romantic entanglement. There is little doubt among viewers who have watched these patterns play out across decades that the old Sheila, whose last name was only Carter, will reemerge if her husband and the woman she currently credits with saving her marriage realize a relationship. This isn't mere speculation, but a guarantee based on character history, as the Carter persona has never truly been vanquished. merely sedated by the promise of love and acceptance. The moment that promise is broken, the sedation wears off, and what emerges will be more calculating, more ruthless, and more devastating than ever before. Armed with the intimate knowledge of her enemy's weaknesses gathered during her time as Sharp, the holiday season will not end with carols and gift-giving, but with screams echoing through the night and the kind of violence that reminds everyone why Sheila became a legend among soap opera villains.